Hello all. I'm doing this video to explain a situation which has happened to a person known to me and who contracted COVID-19 disease which is caused by coronavirus recently. And the person who called me was a middle-aged man and having diabetes and hypertension and no other serious medical issues. RT-PCR testing was done which confirmed the diagnosis of COVID-19 disease in him. And since the availability of beds are not there in the hospitals, and he was actually was being managed in home and by everyday checking of oxygen saturation by a device called pulse-oximeter. And they were calling me every day and they were explaining his situation. He was actually very conscious. He was doing his regular activities, and they were telling me that his saturation in the pulse oximeter was around 98 to 99 percentage, and so based on that I was telling him that he is doing good, and this continued for around 4 to 5 days, after which one day they told me that he's feeling a little restless and he's doing things little odd and he's not understanding the stuff. That is when I realized that he's actually, those are the signs of hypoxia. So that is when I told them that he needs to go to hospital immediately. And even at that time, I asked them what is the saturation. They told me that saturation was around 97-98% on room air. And immediately he was rushed to the hospital, and in the hospital, they connected him to a proper pulse oximeter which will be available in the hospital, and they found that the saturation was actually not recordable and the BP was also very low. So he was actually in a multi-organ dysfunction kind of situation, and CT scan was done on him and it showed that the lung involvement was around 70 to 80%. So what happened to him I will tell you at the end of the video, and so that is the reason I am doing this video, to explain what pulse oximeter is and how it works and how to actually interpret when do you know whether the value you are seeing is correct or not. So these things will actually help many patients, I thought. So this is the regular pulse oximeter that you must be using in your home. So pulse oximeter will actually show you 3 readings. One is oxygen saturation, second is heart rate, and there is also a most important thing that is called a plethysmographic wave, which is embedded in the screen, which I will be explaining in the later slides. So what is oxygen saturation? So oxygen saturation is the percentage of oxygen which is bound to hemoglobin. So what happens is when you are breathing, oxygen will enter through your lungs into the blood vessels. They are called as capillaries, and in the blood vessels there will be some cells called as the red blood cells. They are called RBCs, and these are the cells which carry the oxygen. So inside the RBC there will be a protein called hemoglobin which actually carries the oxygen. Each hemoglobin will be bound to 4 oxygen molecules. If all the hemoglobins in the body are saturated with 4 hemoglobin molecules, then the oxygen saturation is called 100%. You would have heard many people saying less than 90 saturation is dangerous and you should immediately contact the emergency. The reason being, you can see in the graph, less than 90 saturation, there will be a rapid fall in saturation. Till there, somehow the saturation will maintain, but below that there will be a rapid decrease in the saturation, and the chances of patient deteriorating is very faster from that point. So coming to the pulse oximeter again. So what pulse oximeter actually measures is the ratio of oxyhemoglobin to deoxyhemoglobin. So hemoglobin which is bound to oxygen to the hemoglobin which is not bound to oxygen. So if 100% of the hemoglobins are bound to oxygen, then the oxygen saturation will be 100%. So normally in a normal person, 96 above is considered normal. So more than 96% of the hemoglobins are supposed to combine with oxygen. So this is how your pulse oximeter looks like. If you open up, there will be a light emitting diode inside which will release infrared light and red light, and there will be a light receiver. And we have to make sure that these light emitting diode and light receiver are on either side of your fingertip. So the oxyhemoglobin, that is the hemoglobin which is attached to oxygen, will absorb more of infrared light, and the deoxyhemoglobin absorbs more of the red light. So the ratio between the oxyhemoglobin and deoxyhemoglobin will decide the oxygen saturation, which is shown in your pulse oximeter, and this is actually calculated based on a physics principle called as Beer-Lambert's law. So the next important thing you should know is the plethysmographic trace that you will see in the pulse oximeter. Apart from the saturation and heart rate, so this trace is also seen. So this trace is basically consisting of multiple waves. Each wave is generated by a heartbeat. So if you are getting saturation and your plethysmographic waveform is not accurate as shown in the video, then you are not supposed to rely on your saturation number. There are different reasons for getting false values in saturation. You know why? I'll tell you now. Number one is low blood pressure. When the blood pressure is low, the blood reaching the fingertip will decrease. So the pulse oximeter might not detect the proper value. And situations where the body temperature is low and shivering, in those situations also you might not get an accurate pulse oximetric saturation value. And people having nail polish, and if the surrounding light is there is an ambient light, if it is more, even in those situations you might get a false value. So how do you deal with the false values? You need to try to hydrate yourself well. That means you have to drink a lot of water to improve your blood pressure, and that will get a good plethysmographic waveform and a good saturation value. If the blood pressure is not improving despite of drinking a lot of water, then you need to contact the emergency number and get admitted in the hospital. And if the reason is due to a decrease in the temperature or a cold finger, then you need to rub the finger properly and make it warm so that you get a good pulse oximetric trace and number. And if shivering is a problem, then you need to keep the hand still and then take the recording. The light source which I explained before should exactly cross the fingertip. So if the finger is not properly inserted in the pulse oximeter machine also, you might get a false value. And one more solution is that if you feel that the blood pressure is low or the hands are cold, sometimes you can connect the pulse oximeter to the ear lobule, and you can get a good recording. So if you're getting a recording with a good plethysmographic trace, then you can rely on that number. So I didn't tell you what happened to the person regarding whom I spoke in the initial part of the video. So due secondary to hypoxia, that is a low oxygen level in his blood, so he has gone into multiple organ dysfunction. So many parts of his body have gone into failure. Now he is on ventilator, and he is on multiple medications to maintain his blood pressure. So we all will hope for his good recovery. So what do you do when you don't have a pulse oximeter with you in your home? There are few clinical methods which you can do in your home, and which will tell you an approximate value of the oxygen level in your body, and when to rush to hospital also you will come to know. So to know that, please watch my next video. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button. If you have any comments, please click on the please put on the comment section. And if you want me to cover any specific topics, please put in the comment section. I would love to cover those topics. Thank you very much for following the video till the end.